Let's talk about if 500 milligrams of supplemental magnesium is too much. As with everything in health and nutrition, the short answer is it depends. And in this video, I want to explain why and what you need to look out for when taking that much magnesium. Okay, so magnesium is a critical mineral that your body needs for hundreds of functions, like muscle and nerve function, blood sugar control, energy production, and sleep quality. So taking it can definitely be a smart move, and it's one of the supplements that almost everyone needs because it's lacking in the standard diet. But 500 milligrams is a lot, and whether or not it's too much really comes down to a few factors. For example, how deficient you are in the first place, what your other electrolyte levels look like, and how well you tolerate magnesium. Let's break everything down step by step. First, let's talk about how much magnesium you actually need. The recommended daily intake in the US is 400 to 420 milligrams per day for men and 310 to 320 milligrams per day for women. But as you probably know, magnesium is one of the most deficient minerals in modern diets because of food processing, stress, and sometimes even exercise. A lot of people are walking around with subclinical magnesium deficiencies and they don't even know it. So if you're dealing with things like chronic fatigue, latent anxiety, or muscle cramps, then chances are magnesium at least plays a part in all of this. When someone is deficient, I usually recommend doses between 200 to 500 milligram per day, depending on how well they tolerate magnesium supplements. So 500 milligram would definitely be on the high end of that range, and for most people, it's a little too much. Usually 300 to 450 milligrams is the sweet spot. But if you have a severe deficiency, then 500 milligrams or sometimes even more can be used. I remember back when I got into nutrition and was treated for chronic tension headaches, the doctor started me on 600 milligrams per day, so a pretty hefty dose. I didn't tolerate it due to reasons that I will talk about in a second. So 500 milligrams aren't unheard of or aren't completely crazy. But, and this is a big but, it doesn't mean more is always better. Because what you have to understand is that magnesium doesn't work in a vacuum. When you take high doses of it, you risk throwing off your other electrolytes. And this is where things get a little more complex. You see, your body likes to keep a careful balance between different electrolytes. Magnesium lives mostly inside your cells together with potassium, while calcium and sodium hang out mostly outside of your cells. When you pump in a lot of magnesium, it can shift that balance, which will push calcium and sodium levels down, especially if they're already borderline low. That's when you run into side effects like heart palpitations, dizziness, and the like. So if you're megadosing magnesium without paying attention to the rest of your electrolytes, you could end up solving one problem but creating a new one. I explain everything in much more detail in a separate video, because I also couldn't figure out why I was getting all these weird side effects from something that was supposed to be beneficial for me. The next important thing to consider when thinking about your magnesium dose is what form of magnesium you're actually taking. Some forms are much better and much more quickly absorbed than others. On most magnesium supplement rankings, products like magnesium glycinate will be pretty high up the list because it bypasses normal mineral transporters in the gut and quickly reaches your bloodstream. But here's the catch. If you take a full 500 milligram dose of such a highly bioavailable form all at once, your body might not know what to do with it. It's like flooding your system with a big wave of magnesium. Your blood levels spike, and then your kidneys go, whoa, that's way too much, and they will just flush everything out, so you will pee it out. That means you're not getting the full benefit, and you're also kind of wasting a perfectly good supplement. Again, most of this is done by your body to rebalance your electrolyte levels. So taking a very large dose all at once will usually not do the trick and can lead to all the side effects that I just talked about. Other forms that are much more slowly absorbed, such as magnesium oxide, would be better in such a case, but I also wouldn't take the whole 500 milligram dose all at once because it will just sit around in your gut, attract too much water, and therefore cause diarrhea. Just as a side note, I talk about why magnesium oxide is much better than its reputation in a different video. What I'm really trying to get at is that it's generally smarter to split your magnesium dose into 2 or even 3 smaller servings that you take throughout the day, especially if you want to take higher doses like 500 milligrams. That way, your body has a better chance of absorbing and using it because you're not spiking your blood levels as much. For example, you could take 200 milligrams in the morning, 200 milligrams in the afternoon, and then another 100 milligrams before bed. That last dose will also help with sleep, which is a nice bonus effect. Even better would be to mix different forms of magnesium and not rely on just one. Maybe some magnesium malate in the morning for energy, some magnesium citrate or chloride after a workout, and then some magnesium glycinate before bed. You could even use topical magnesium if your digestion is very sensitive. That way, you are covering more bases and are also reducing the risk of overwhelming your system with one specific type. So to wrap up this video and to also answer your question, 500 milligrams of magnesium will be too much if you're taking it all at once, if you get side effects from it, or if the electrolytes that balance magnesium, so mainly calcium and sodium, are already low. On the other hand, if you're smart about it, splitting up your doses and keeping an eye on your other electrolytes, then you can definitely work with a 500 milligram dose, especially if you're very deficient to begin with.